morning to all. Myself Dr. K. Pavaraj, Associate Professor from the Department of Information Technology, Namkar Institute of Technology. Today we are going to see about constructor. These are the topics going to discuss today. Constructor, all the types of constructor, what the difference between method and constructor. First we are going to see about what is constructor. A constructor is a special method that is used to initialize the object. The constructor is called when an object of class is created. It can be used to set initial values of the object attributes. In Java, a constructor is a block of code similar to the method. It is called when an instance of the class is created. At the time of calling constructor, memory for the object is allocated in the memory. Every time an object is created using the new keyword, at least one constructor will be called. Uh, what are the various rules for creating the constructor? So first one, constructor name must be the class name. Second one, the constructor must have no explicit return type. Last one, the constructor cannot be a abstract class or static class or final class or synchronized. These are the various rules to defining the constructors. Then we are going to see about what are the types of constructors. Uh, Initially, we have two types of constructor. One is default constructor and one parameterized constructor. The default constructor is also called no argument constructor. Parameterized constructor is also called argumented constructors. First one, we are see about the default constructor. A constructor that have no parameter or argument is known as default constructor. The default constructor providing the default values to the object like 0, null, etc. That is depending on the data types. If we have integer value means it is assigned a value of 0, or if you are using the float value means it will be assigned at 0.0. Like that, what are the variables you have used in that class, depending on the that value will be assigned for that data and that variables. There is no constructor in a class. Compiler automatically creating a default constructor. If you not creating any constructor in your class, the compiler will automatically creating a constructor as a default constructor. What is the syntax of default constructor means class name, then we have to class name, class name, then we have to bracket, then we have set of statement for that process. That is called that is the syntax of default constructor. Then we have to see the one example for default constructor. We have to creating a class for type 1, uh, that is a class name. Then we have to creating a constructor. So bike 1 is a class name, so we have to use that name for a constructor creation. So bike 1, we have to adding a parenthesis in that bike. Then we have to setting the statements system that out println the bike is created. So that is a constructor with the process of displaying some information. That is this is called default constructor. Then we have to creating a main function. In that main function, we have to creating the object for that bike class. Bike 1 be equal to new bike of 1. We have to creating this object. When that object was created, the object directly called the default constructor. It display the value of bike is created. That is the output of that of this program. Another one example for default constructor, we have to creating a class with the name of my class, and we have to creating a variable within that class integer n. Then we have to creating a default constructor public my class. So we got here my name, my class is a class name. So we have to creating default constructor with that name. Then we have to assign the value for that variable n equal to 10. That is called function of default constructor. Next we have to creating a main function. With it, within that main function we have to creating an object for my class. My class, that object name equal to new my class. If we that object was created, then we that function directly call the constructor my class. Then we have to assign the value n equal to 10. Then we have to display the value of n. It display the value 10. That is the output of our program. So next we have to see one basic example without any constructors. In this program we have a class called student. uh, that within that student class we have to creating variables integer id as well as name. So that is student id as well as student's name. We have to display the both the id and the name within that function display. Then we have to creating a main function. Within that main function we have to creating two objects s1 and s2. We have display the student id and the name. uh, s1 dot display and s2 dot display. We can't get any values for student id and the name. We have directly display the values of id and the name. Here we have to see the output 0 and null. We can assign, we cannot, we didn't assign any values with that id as well as name, but we have output called 0 and null. So it automatically uh, default constructor will create, then it will assign the values like that 0 and null. If it is string means it is assigned null. If it is integer means it is assigned to 0. A default constructor will created automatically when the object was created, then it values should be assigned like that. So next we are going to see about the parameterized constructor. And the constructor that have parameters is known as parameterized constructor. The parameterized constructor is used to providing the different values to the stimulus object. Uh, if we have any arguments in the constructor is called parameterized constructor. We have passed n number of arguments to the constructors. If it is one means it's called one argument constructor. If it is two means two argument constructor or two parameters constructor, like that. N number of arguments we can pass in that constructor. Yeah, we have see the example for the parameters constructor. We have create a similar program like previously in that one. Class student name and id, name and name id will be created for that student. Then we have created a argumented or parameterized constructor. So integer I and a string of n. Okay. Then we have assigned the values of n and I and n to the id and name. Because we are passing some values into the constructor, the passed values are assigned to the corresponding id and name. That is the process of this argumented or parameterized constructor. Then a special method called the display method. We display the id and the name of the students. Next we have created a main method. Then we have objects created object s1 and s2. In that object creation method, we have passed the two values triple one and the current. So with triple one is an id of the student, that is integer type, and current is the string type. So we have to assign the value of triple one to the id and current to the name of a s1 class. If we display s1 dot display means it show the values of s1 current. So next object will be created, triple one rn will be created, is also called the s1. Triple one is equal to integer value I and string equal to n. We can assign the values to the id and the name. Then s2 object having the values of triple e and rn. In s2 display means it is display the values of triple two and rn. That is called parameterized constructor. Next one, what are the difference between constructor and the method? There are many differences are there. So first one, constructor is used to initialize the state of an object. Method is used to expose behavior of an object. Next, constructor must not have a return type. Function must have a return type. Constructor is involved implicitly. Method is invoked explicitly. And Java compiler providing a default constructor if you not have any constructor. Method is not provided by the compiler in any case. Constructor name must be the class name. Method name may or may not be the same as class name. These are the major differences between the constructor and the methods. Uh, some simple example for what are the difference between the constructor and the method. Here we have a class called car. Here also we have a class called car. We have created a argumented or parameterized constructor. Uh, Here we have a method called get data and show. Here we have two methods. One is get data, another one is show. So get data will assign the values to the class variables. Here we have used constructor for assigning the values to the variables. So we have a main method. In this main method, we have creating a object. We are now creating the object for car object. We have passing the values to the argumented constructor or parameterized constructor. It is assigned to the values. It is initialized to the variables of values. Here we have passed the values with the methods. That method called the method of get data. Then we are assigning the values with that function. Then we have get for uh, values for the variables in the car class. Then we have display the values with the help of object and system.out.println. And we have display with the simple method. We have a show method. Show method is used to display the values of variables. The both program having the same output, but here we have a constructor. Here we have a method. There is a difference between the two. So these are about our today's session. Constructor, various type of constructor, and what are the difference between the constructor and the method. So constructor is a special member function. The object where it called when the object was created, the constructor will call automatically. What are the types means? It have two types of constructor. One is argumented or parameterized constructor. Second one is default or no argumented constructor. Some lot of differences are there in the with uh, constructor and the methods. That's all about today's session. Thank you.